Hey there, friends. Welcome back to Eerie Files. Today, we're diving deep into the phenomenon I've spent the better part of 2 decades documenting, missing 411. This isn't just about folks getting lost. That happens every day. This is about the cases that defy logic and the standard textbook explanations. These are the ones that share a common, baffling set of circumstances that even a curious kid could spot. I'm David Paulides, executive producer of the Missing 411 film series, including the recent UFO connection. I get a lot of mail from folks who think I'm making wild claims about UFOs and missing people. I want to be perfectly clear. I don't make claims. I just report the facts, the witness statements, and I meticulously tie together those associated factors. Hold on to your socks, because the evidence we review today is going to force you to ask, what in the world is happening out there? For those who want the full, unedited documentation, you know where to find us. That's nabigfootsearch.com. That's where you can get all 3 of the films, Missing 411, The Hunted, and the UFO Connection, and of course, the books. And don't forget the track record USB. 3,000 pages of unbelievable documents, scanned and organized, ready for your own research. We only research cases that match our stringent profile points. I've outlined them in all 11 of my books. The common denominators are undeniable. We've found 64 established clusters right here in North America. These bizarre disappearances aren't isolated events. Cases matching this exact profile exist in at least 16 countries globally. If you're listening in Scandinavia, I know there are cases there. Write to me. Let's start with a couple of letters that contain crucial, undeniable profile points. They set the tone for the mysteries to come. First up, a story from the area of Wynoochee Dam in Washington, dated the 15th of March, 2023. This is a classic case of an abnormal physical interaction. The writer was hiking on a level trail when they were simply struck from behind, knocked 15 feet into the dirt. They never heard, nor did they see, a single thing. They got up, but their shoes were gone. Found the right shoe on the left side of the trail, the left shoe on the right side, both several feet into the bush. Keen hiking shoes with elastic laces. The writer later tried and could not kick these shoes off. Now, my experience tells me being knocked out of your shoes requires high velocity. But here's the physical anomaly. The acceleration was extreme, yet the writer was never sore. What kind of force acts that way? This screams something non-human, perhaps a momentary, highly localized dimensional rift or energy field that bent the laws of physics around the victim. It was an energy field strong enough to violently propel a body and remove securely tied footwear, but somehow gentle enough not to cause broken bones or even a major bruise. This is a calculated, impossible form of interaction. Very, very strange. Next, Ridgefield, New Jersey. A seemingly normal suburb. 1 a.m. Suddenly, the power cuts off in the neighborhood. Street lamps gone. The writer looks up and sees it. A spherical object. It had 3 distinct white lights in a triangular formation on the bottom side. The top portion looked blurred, almost cloaked, like a classic distortion effect. It was emitting a low, pulsating, humming sound. At that exact moment, a delivery driver pulls over because his car had just shut off suddenly. Classic electromagnetic interference, killing power grids and engines. The craft then silently darted upward and out of sight at a ridiculous speed. Power instantly returned. The driver's relatively new car couldn't restart for several minutes. Note this, too. The writer's phone was charging inside. The driver was too focused on escaping. It's almost as if something compels witnesses to remain observers, not documentarians. Finally, from Longville, Minnesota, a deep dive into the paranormal activity spectrum. The writer details objects, glasses, phones, recipe cards being violently knocked off tables, often accompanied by a distinct, strange energy. One night, January 23rd, 2023, the activity was aggressive. Bathroom lights were intensely flickering. Something was physically bumping the back of their head. They decided to try and trick the entity. They grabbed their phone, pretending to check emails, while secretly snapping pictures behind them. We call this brewing a response, sending a misleading intention. The result was incredible. A dark orb with a bright aura. When enlarged, both the writer and their sister saw a clear, unmistakable face. The sister described a man's face with a long, tied beard. This suggests a non-physical intelligence is operating in our homes, not just the wilderness. And the unnerving evidence of the hitchhiker effect was instant. Right after seeing the photo, the writer's sister's bathroom lights immediately started to flicker. This transfer of energy, this connection, shows the intelligence operating in these cases is mobile, fast, and interactive. Keep these seemingly separate factors, the unexplained force, the EM interference, the paranormal presence, in mind as we look at the core, missing 411 cases. Let's turn to a contemporary Canadian case that hits almost every single one of our profile points. Frances Brown, 53 years old, a First Nations woman, missing the 14th of October, 2017. The location is critical, just outside Doty, British Columbia, central BC. Very remote, saturated with lakes, creeks, and rivers. Frances was an extreme outdoors woman, known to be highly capable. Her specific activity was crucial. She went out with her cousin to go mushroom picking. This is a definite subgroup. Your head is down. You are distracted. You are not maintaining perimeter awareness. You are vulnerable. Sometime during the day, she and her cousin got separated. Her cousin returned to the car around 4 p.m., the optimal time for vanishings. The cousin eventually called the authorities and noted that Frances had a disability. She was deaf in one ear. The next day, the RCMP brought in a canine unit. The dog went to the last known location, tracked a short distance, and simply couldn't pick up a scent. A classic canine failure sign. 19 different search and rescue organizations eventually participated, combing the terrain. After 6 days of non-stop searching, they found nothing except one small fire they thought she might have started. Frances Brown, a highly experienced woman, dissolved. We can dismiss the standard predator theories. She was in the middle of the wilderness. How does someone like this, in adequate clothing, just disappear? The total lack of evidence suggests something capable of instantaneous, clean removal. This type of total disappearance, especially with no sign of struggle, perfectly fits the criteria for an undetectable, swift intervention, a temporary alien abduction, or perhaps a sudden destabilization of the local spatial field. The Earth simply swallowed her whole, without leaving any trace of a struggle or a trail for the dogs. Now, we turn to the most challenging case of the day, because it's a non-fatal case. This one defies common sense, defies the science of survival, and leaves us with an absolute mystery. Dathie Osgard, 16 months old, missing. The 15th of September, 1964, around 3 p.m., location 8 miles north of High Prairie, Alberta, another remote area next to a series of lakes. Her mother put tiny Kathy, who could barely toddle, in the front yard. A few minutes later, she was gone. 3 p.m., that optimal time window. The RCMP arrived with a canine unit. Just like with Frances Brown, the dog came up empty. Canine failure. 400 searchers arrived and combed a 2-square-mile grid. Still nothing. Late that night, light rain started. The temperature plummeted to 35 degrees Fahrenheit. This is an all-out emergency. A 6-month-old child exposed to that weather is facing certain death by hypothermia. But at 4 a.m. the next morning, a local farmer, William Bassell, found her. She was sitting 1/4 mile from the house, in an area that had been repeatedly searched. She was barefoot and nearly naked. She left the house fully clothed. Her clothes and shoes were never found. If she had taken them off there, the 400 searchers would have seen them immediately. This means she was removed and stripped somewhere else. And here's the biggest anomaly of all. She was taken to the hospital, and the doctor stated she was in good condition. Think about that. 13 hours in 35-degree rain, nearly naked, yet perfectly healthy. That is a miracle. That is divine intervention. She should have been severely hypothermic or dead. She didn't survive the cold. She was simply never exposed to it for long. She was removed, kept safe, and then deliberately placed back in an already searched area by a private party. This case perfectly mirrors the temporary abduction scenarios associated with unexplained phenomena like time travel mystery or non-human intelligence. She was taken, handled, and returned, but the memory, the clothes, and the time she spent away were permanently erased from the earthly record. And remember, she was found by a private citizen, not search and rescue. This happens repeatedly. The cases of Frances Brown and Kathy Osgood, separated by over 50 years, show us a unified, consistent pattern of missing 411. The pattern doesn't care about age, experience, or time. The common denominators are always there. The canine seconds fail. The optimal time window hits. Water is near. And there is a total lack of conventional evidence. This isn't just about bears, or panic, or simple exposure. We have evidence of an invisible, fast-acting force that can remove an experienced adult without a trace. And we have a force that can hold a child safely outside our reality, then return them in impossible condition. The wilderness is not just trees and animals, friends. There is something else operating in these areas, and it adheres to rules we have not yet begun to understand. Now, I want to talk to Kathy Osgood. If anyone out there knows her, please have her contact me. I want to know if she ever had any nightmares, any memories, any revelations about what happened during those 13 hours. That's it for another Eerie Files. We need more kindness in this world, friends, but we also need more awareness of what's happening in our forests. Be safe, be kind to your neighbors, and please share this video and check your subscription status. We need to get these facts out. I hear him. That's my buddy, Huck. That's my co-producer. I hear you, Huck. I'm coming. I need to give you a belly rub. Paulides out.